Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. It's another week. We're going into college football week 9 and the NFL week 8. And like every Monday, I'm joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com, one of the finest handicappers in the country today. Doug, how was your weekend, my friend?
Everything was good, Ross. And now I always like to do this. I know it brings a smile to your face every time I bring it up. Today is the first day, I believe, since April that I'm wearing long pants. Okay. So I have worn shorts since April, but last night it got down to 55 here. And today the high, I think, is like 71. So in the house, it's a little cool. So I had to go with the long pants today. So just a little thing. The weather's changing even here. Not as bad as what it's going to be by you and many others across the country. But hey, that's okay. Change is good, and
Yeah.
I'm ready for it. And hey, had a nice weekend. Had Alabama as a top play. That was good. So they had a nice winning weekend there. Had some baseball and hockey winners and NBA winners. So Ross, it was a nice weekend.
I'm
Didn't quite get
glad.
everything done I wanted Sunday, but went 2-1. I'll take that and got some other action. How about yourself?
Hey, buddy, the high was 68 here today.
Oh,
And
see, there you go.
66 yesterday. So
Perfect.
Arizona doesn't have much on us right now.
Not exactly. I
Well,
like
at
to
least
hear
for the next 2 days. Anyway, my weekend, college football bounced back with a nice 4-1 week. Not a good week in the NFL. The silver lining for me in the NFL this week was hitting my 10-star top play on Tennessee, minus the 2.5 over Indy. They win 19-10. That makes me 8-0. This season, when my NFL 10-star top plays, was really encouraged by the college football showing this week. And like I said last week, I'm going to get it going in college football. Last week was just the beginning of a very good streak coming up, and I'll bounce back in the NFL too. After a great start to the season, just 5-9 in the last 2 weeks. I have a Monday night game going tonight. So if you get this in time, you want to check that out. My NFL primetime place, even though I lost last night, still 12-5 on the season, Doug. So yeah, I mean, could I do better? Yes. Could it have been better? Yes. But you know what? It is what it is. We move on. And I'm just glad college football and the NFL cashed in for me. NFL 10-star top play.
There
So
you go. I mean, that's all good stuff there. And I was with you on Tennessee, by the way, then too. That was nice.
good for
And
you.
as it turns out, it might be the end of Matt Ryan's
Yeah,
career.
I saw that just
Yeah.
before we came on air. I mean, they
Yep.
said they're benching him. I mean, very seldom do I see a statement like, I understand we're going to make a change at quarterback, but the headlines were Matt Ryan is benched for the year. It's
Yes.
like, it's usually not worded to that extreme, but
Yeah.
that's how disheveled and unhappy Indianapolis is with Matt Ryan right now. He comes off that good game 2 weeks ago or a week ago Sunday. And then yesterday he reverts back to old form, throwing interceptions that I've never seen him throw before. Careless interceptions is what I'm alluding to. But
Not that we're here to talk. I know we're here to talk about college football, but the one thing, just think, and I'm not saying they had the right guy or they would have gotten the right guy, but just think if Indianapolis would have drafted a quarterback 5 years ago, okay, where they might be today.
yeah,
They might be the team they wanted to be.
well,
You know,
you know what, buddy? What threw them for a loop is Andrew Luck
oh, never got over
abruptly
it.
retiring just before training camp. When was it, last year or the year before?
I think it was a
Recent,
few years ago. I think it was
yeah,
probably
okay,
4.
yeah,
Yeah.
in recent years anyway. So
Yes.
they've never ever. I mean, the Carson Wentz experiment didn't go good. Jacoby Brissett, adequate, good backup, but not going to take you to the promised land as a starting
Philip
quarterback.
Rivers.
Yeah. Philip Rivers. Yeah. Well, they did okay with Philip Rivers.
Yeah, but I mean, but they never got a guy.
No,
You
but
know, every
that was the
stopgap.
last year of his career too. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yep.
So you can't keep getting these retread quarterbacks that are at the end of the line. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of these guys. And again, it is a college football show. We will have 2 free picks for you in college football on Thursday games between North Carolina State and where's my
Virginia
game?
Tech.
And Virginia Tech, and also Utah and Washington State. Doug will be covering the North Carolina State Virginia Tech game. I will be covering Utah and Washington State. But just a couple more notes in the NFL. Speaking of the quarterbacks, we're seeing a rapid decline of a few, just not Matt Ryan. I mean, Tom Brady, I don't know what's going on there. I don't. Aaron Rodgers, he's taken a lot of heat, but I mentioned to you off air, Doug, that I think it's sort of unfair in comparison to a guy like Brady, who still has guys like Godwin and Mike Evans on the outside. And Green Bay, I'm really, if I'm a Green Bay fan, I'm really disappointed with the general manager, because how he thought that he can go into the year with this cast of wide receivers and continue to put the onus and responsibility all on Aaron Rodgers to make guys that are nothing more but middle of the road or less, trying to make them household names like he has in the past. Sooner or later, your luck's going to run out. And on top of that, that's okay if you have an elite number one like Devontae Adams was. Just your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I mean, no question. I mean, it's an organizational issue, because Aaron Rodgers has always bailed them out. I mean, that's what's gone on. And the other part too is that the offensive line, David Bakhtiari, who they paid a lot of money to, even though he was at the beginning process of being injury prone, well, now they're stuck with him. He's on a long-term deal. He's making way too much money. He can't stay on the field. And so if you have any other injuries, so you're always having to do work around him. So there's part of the problem. It's like having a ace on your staff in baseball, but he always gets hurt. So you're always having to juggle guys around. And so you're always bringing in a number 4 guy to take his place, or a number 5 guy. It doesn't work. And so it's the same thing.
Jacob DeGrom or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just when you run into those situations, it's not easy. So it's that. And then the other thing that I mentioned to you, and I know you agreed, is that going into the year, I think the general belief, I know with the Packers for sure, and I would think Tampa Bay as well, is that, whatever happens, the defense would carry them. Yeah. Okay. Well, guess what? Neither defense is that good. They're okay. They're average, but they're not great. Jair Alexander was taken to school by McCullen yesterday. You saw it. I saw it. He was whipped. And so from that standpoint, and it's the defense isn't as good. So it's the whole package. And the one thing I did see, Ross, with Rodgers, I mean, I have been defending of him as well to a degree, but they had some interesting highlights on one of the shows I saw where they had the camera angle behind the quarterback. I think it was on ESPN late last night. And he was not throwing the ball. He was taking the plays in front of them, but he had receivers that were open beyond what you could see. And they were wide open, and he did not make those throws. And
is that a lack of trust? Is that his thumb bothering him?
Only thing it could be is lack of trust. And so I mean, it's the way that it is. They've turned into a mediocre football team. For the first time in his career, he's going to be a double-digit underdog at Buffalo this weekend. And so, I don't think there's going to be a lot of money on the Packers this weekend. That would be my guess.
Well, I mean, again, you'll have the diehard Aaron Rodgers fans and Green Bay fans that will. And look, Green Bay's been a great franchise for the last decade or so, right?
Especially, 3 decades.
Yeah, especially with
92.
Especially with Aaron Rodgers, and before him, Brett Favre, and they're not used to losing, or they're not used to mediocrity. Right. And when they do have a funk in mediocrity, it's usually early on, and then they start to turn it on. I just don't see it this year, Doug.
No, it would be a miracle to me if it happened. I mean, honestly,
I go back to when Aaron Rodgers got interviewed on a Monday after they started 0-2 a couple of years ago, and he told everybody to chill. Well, he's not telling everybody to chill now.
No,
he's as he said in yesterday's game, and it was picked up on the mic. What the F are we doing right now?
Yeah.
So, anyway, all right, Doug, get to your free pick in college football. Virginia Tech and NC State still ranked number 24 in the country, Doug. And I guess on paper they should be, but with this starting quarterback and Devin Leary out for the year, what's your feeling here?
Yeah, this is a team that truly expected to be a top 10 team this season with a legit shot to win the ACC. That has definitely turned out not to be true. And they're 5-2, sounds okay. But when you dig a little deeper, you look at what they've done against the spread, which is a good barometer for a team as well. And they're 2-5 against the number. So that's a big problem just right there alone. Part of the problem all the year has been they never found a running game. Okay, right now they're averaging 136 yards per game rushing. Bad number. It gets worse because if you take out the 217 they had against FFC Charleston Southern, that number drops to 122. And if you look up the rankings of where 122 is for rushing yards, that's below 100. Okay, so that's a bad number. Now, I think that affected Devin Leary in part. Okay, I mean he was a good quarterback, but he was never certainly a great quarterback. And so with the lack of offensive line play, now he's out for the season. And if you've seen their backup, Jack Chambers, not a good passer. But then we got to look at Virginia Tech, though. That's they're 2-5 straight up and against the spread, and they're averaging 19.1 points per game. Myself, I cannot trust NC State to cover 13.5. Okay, that's a big number for this team, even at home. But I don't like the Hokies either because they're going up against a defense from the Wolfpack that are giving up 16.2 points per game. So what does that take me, Ross? It's taking me to a total. And I know you like when I bring stuff like that because I seldom do here.
Yeah.
Now, in this one, I neither team I don't think has much incentive. So you got a team with Virginia Tech that can't score against a good defense. Seems like an under there. NC State, hardly an offensive juggernaut in scoring 27.4 points per game, mostly with Leary, and they're going up a Hokies defense that gives up basically 25. However, Ross, sportsbooks, the number's 40 on this one. Okay, which to me seems like a pretty low number. And just about a half an hour before we started doing this video, I went back and looked, and I'm seeing 39.5 already. Now, Virginia Tech is 6-1 under, and 4 of their 7 games. The ending final score has ended up in the 30s. But you know what, Ross? I am going 100% contrarian on this one.
I'm rubbing off on you, Dougie. I'm rubbing off on you, buddy.
the contrarian all the information points to an under, but from that standpoint, I see 2 defenses that have the ability to generate turnovers, which I believe in this case will ultimately lead to points. And I'm going to say NC State wins this one 27-17, and I'm going over the total on this one.
I can't even respond to that. I'm shocked.
I have no words. Can't believe it. How crazy it is.
I have no words to convey to you, my friend. You threw me for an absolute loop. Anyway, Doug, how you been doing of late? And again, you could be found at docsports.com, one of the best handicapping sites you'll see anywhere. 51 years of existence for Doc Sports. Great handicappers there, including Doug Upstone, who I'm a little biased. He's my favorite. And Doug, tell the folks exactly what went on last week. What you got coming up, possibly?
Yeah, well, hey, like I said, I hit my big 6-unit play on Alabama. Had a really strong winning week with a number of winners, and so things went that well. I did miss my top play, which was on Sunday with Jacksonville. There's some things that happened, but Giants did what they had to do. Okay, Let's just put it that way. Got the job done, but I did win the other 2. I mentioned Tennessee, and then on the Sunday night game, I had the under. Okay, so that was good. And like Ross tonight, I also have a play going tonight in the Monday night football game, and so got some great action coming up there. NBA had a nice situation the other night. Hit a 5-unit play on the first half, Toronto and Miami. Miami hadn't won. They blew them out 71-50 in the first half. Wow. They only won the game by 3, but the first half that they kicked. So that was good there. And Major League Baseball missed with San Diego on Friday, but bounced back. Had Philly last night thanks to Bryce Harper. Got another run. So 30-16 in baseball. So I got some time off until Friday with baseball, Ross. But that's fine. Hey, you know what? We're down to the final. At most 7 games of the Major League Baseball season. It's been a great run at 30-16. We'll see if we can keep it going, keep it continuing, and we're ready to go. Now, I know you got a free play, Ross. Let's hear all about it.
Yeah, well, speaking of my free plays, the last 2 weeks on this channel is I'm on every day, Monday through Friday, so I've given out 10 free picks on the channel. Won 8-2 with my free picks, and of course, the one loser was one of the two losers was Jacksonville, the same game that Doug had, and of course, I had one of the viewers chime in and say, "Yeah, that was a real sucker play, Ross." It never ceases to amaze me, Doug. You go 8-2, and somebody's got to bring up your one loser because of the terminology you use. Look, a sucker play is nothing but what I'm looking at is what I'm seeing is the general public is their perception is not in reality what the line is. And that was one of those situations. And like Doug said, look, that Jacksonville could have very easily covered that game, but they didn't. So 8-2, we'll take it. And I know Doug's doing awfully well with our free picks here the
Yeah.
last couple of weeks. 3-1, I think, Doug, or
That's correct. Yes,
3-1 the
had the
last
winner
2
with
weeks.
Dallas yesterday.
Good for you. And I think you had Georgia Tech.
I had Georgia Tech. That was a bad call on that one, so I did miss that one. I did not see in any way, shape, or form Virginia playing
Yeah,
as well as they did for the times that they did, and I
yeah,
didn't see them dominating the offensive line. But you know what? You live and learn. Georgia Tech changed coaches, finally caught up to them.
yeah, exactly. Anyway, don't mean to zero in on a loser.
Oh no!
Yeah,
It's a
but
it's a fact.
yeah, it was just, I thought that was a flukish result. And like you said, look, if you're going to hold Virginia Tech to 16 in that game and you're laying a low number like Georgia Tech was, you would think your chances of coming on top are going to be very good. Anyway, let's get to my pick. It's Utah and Washington State. And that game goes on Thursday evening, just like the Virginia Tech game goes. This one goes at 10 p.m. Eastern. Doug's pick goes at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Right now, the number 14 Utah Utes are an 8-point favorite at Washington State. Utah comes in with a 5-2 record, while Washington State, after a 4-1 start, Doug, they've dropped their last two on the road, failed to cover on both occasions, lost by 14 or more on each occasion. However, before you get caught up with all that, since the start of last year, Utah, and this surprised me, Doug, is 0-5 straight up in ATS as a road favorite of 9.5 or less. So they have not done well as a road favorite, single-digit road favorite, that is, since the start of last year. On the other hand, Washington State, as a conference home dog of 9.5 or less since 2017, that hasn't happened a heck of a lot of times, but they've really succeeded in that situation. Conference home dog of 9.5 or less since 2017 for Washington State, 5-0 against the spread, and they won 4 of those 5 games straight up. Utah's last 2 games, they played number 10, USC, and number 12, UCLA. Both of those teams, at the time they faced them, were top 10 teams, and both were undefeated. Utah fell to USC, but they fell to UCLA, on the road, and they beat USC in their previous game in a thriller, 43-42. Now they have to face an unranked Washington State team that's lost their last 2, like I alluded to, by 14 plus points. And I think this is a vulnerable spot for the Utah Utes. Washington State has big time revenge in this game. Why? Because they've lost to Utah in each of the last 3 seasons. Any time you have a college football conference home underdog of +8 to +11 in that range, they're playing with revenge. They're coming off back-to-back road losses like Washington State is. Both of those losses came by 14 or more points, and they're facing an opponent with a win percentage of 750 or less like Utah has. And that opponent is also coming off a straight-up win like I just touched upon, Utah coming off that straight up win over USC. Those conference home dogs of 8-11 in that exact situation have gone 11-0 against the spread since 1986, and they won 7 of those 11 games outright as a home underdog of +8 to 11. I'm going to take Washington State here, Doug, and take a shot with them on Thursday night to catch Utah a little bit on the flat side. Washington State +8 versus Utah. Don't forget, this is a Washington State team that's 3-1 at home. Their only loss came to a top 10 team in Oregon, and we know how Oregon, and they only lost that game 44-41. I was going to say, you know how hot Oregon is now. I mean, they lost their season opener in Georgia. They got blown out. Everybody wrote them off. But since then, they've won 6 in a row and been pretty impressive in doing so. So Washington State plus the 8 at home against Utah. And Doug Upstone, tell the folks again who you have and what you might have coming up this week they could look forward to.
Well, I'm happy to report I'm going crazy here. I'm taking the over. I'm using 39.5 for Virginia Tech and NC State. And as hard as this may seem to believe for those that watch these videos regularly, I made Ross Benjamin speechless with that pick. So we'll see if that turns out to be the right choice, okay, from that standpoint.
Listen, I had to ask, I wanted you to say, usually I would chime in and say, here's my pick, and this is what Doug likes, but I wanted to hear you say that again. So, yeah, and you did. So I'm not quite as stunned the second time as it was the first, but still surprised and all. Again, you can find me at rbwins.com, folks. NFL primetime games, 12-5 this year. NFL 10-star top plays, 8-0 this year. Going back to last year, since January 30th, which was the conference championship games, my NFL regular season and playoff picks are at 60%, 29-19 to be exact. So nice run there. And again, folks, coming off a momentum building 4-1 week in college football last week. And the winning will continue again at my website. All single game and multi-game daily packages are guaranteed. No, you don't get your money back, but if you lose, you don't make a profit, I will credit your account the exact amount of your purchase price, and you can use that credit toward any purchase you want, whenever you want, and any future package. So again, it's been a great day again, Doug. Always a pleasure to see you and talk to you, and we'll be back on Thursday. And look forward to seeing you once again on Thursday, Doug, and like the viewers will as well. For Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, we like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Take care and God bless, folks.